watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering as that building was coming down. Thousands of people were cheering.
Well, that was Donald Trump at a rally on Saturday discussing Muslims in America celebrating the 9/11 attacks. Now, Trump actually repeated his comments on ABC's This Week.
Of New Jersey, where you have large Arab populations, they were cheering as the World Trade Center came down. I know it might be not politically correct for you to talk about it, but there were people cheering as that building came down, as those buildings came down.
Joining me now, Christian White and former Bush State Department Senior Advisor Mark Serrano, Jillian Melcher, and Tammy Bruce back with me. Before I go to you guys, I'll also tell you, and I tweeted this, maybe I'm tripping, but I could have sworn I saw the same thing, although I Googled all weekend long, could not find the actual footage of it, Christian. Was I tripping, or what's going on here?
I think so. There's just no documentary evidence that that happened. I've talked to people who were in New York and New Jersey that day. It did, of course, happen in the Palestinian areas, in Hamas, in Gaza, in the West Bank. They were cheering our misfortune. But in the United States, this is a problem with Donald Trump. He takes a potentially serious issue, the radicalization of people, the spread of radical Islam, and makes it trivial. It's like Joe McCarthy going after communists. He discredited the work of serious communist hunters. And when Donald Trump says these things that just have no basis in fact and no evidence to back them up, it really undermines those of us who want to get tough on radical Islam.
I guess it's urban lore, because you know what? I was here, Mark. I was driving down the West Side Highway. I watched the second tower come down. My office is a block and away from there. And again, I could recall seeing that. If someone were to ask me if I saw it, I would have said yes. So I don't know how this became such a large part of sort of urban myth. But does it hurt Donald Trump that he's not walking it back?
Well, Charles, let's take a look at the facts, though. On September 18, 2001, the Washington Post ran a story where they did say that the police were interrogating people who were celebrating from Jersey City and tailgating that night. Muslims in Jersey City were. Now, were there thousands? No, the article doesn't say that. But that is in a September 18th article.
Right.
But let me just take a look at where this is coming from, Charles. The left in the media Democrat complex wants to destroy Donald Trump, and they're doing something else. They're distracting from the fact that Barack Obama has an abysmal record with minority populations and empowering them. The other
well,
issue
one second, Mark. Let me just bring the rest of the panel in, because Jillian, the author of that Washington Post article that Mark's talking about, said that it was alleged that this happened, that there was never any police confirmation of it. So again, I'm not sure where we are, but Donald Trump brings these things up himself, and then his followers are left to sort of defend him.
Well, I think we can't play fast and loose with the facts here. 9/11 was an emotional day. It does stick in our memory that somewhere in the world Muslims were cheering this on, which we did see happen in Palestine. But it comes down to the point where what he said, thousands of people out there cheering in support, objectively did not happen. Now, if it were just a mistake this one time, I'd maybe think it was okay, but this is him playing fast and loose with the truth, if not outright lying repeatedly. I think
swear,
he's got
though,
history here.
here's the thing, though, Tammy. I swear I could have made the same tweet, because I had the same recollection, but I couldn't find the evidence of it.
Well, look, this is the issue about recollection, and he says he saw it. I'm going to believe him that he saw it. He may have, at the same time, when we think back about memories of memories, maybe he was seeing imagery out of the West Bank and hearing audio from the radio about what was happening in Jersey City. That could have happened as well. But I don't think he doesn't need to make up something that dramatic, and I think that he remembers it that way. But this is what the media prefers to have people talking about, as opposed to the terrorism that's happening now.
Again, if he brings it up, the media is going to jump on it. You live by the sword, die by the sword. One of his greatest attributes is that he talks off the cuff, right? Also, sometimes maybe tweets off the cuff, because some critics are calling one of Donald Trump's tweets over the weekend racist. There was a report about black-on-black crime and killings, and there was a false statistic on one that said 81% of white murder victims were killed by black offenders. According to the FBI, the number is under 15%. And so far, we haven't heard Donald Trump talk about this or not. Also, some people are saying that the original tweet was posted by a user with a neo-Nazi logo in their profile picture. And the source, by the way, of the stats is an organization that doesn't exist. Now, I will also tell you guys, I have in the past mistakenly retweeted dubious things, and people have come down hard on me on the internet, but I've always apologized for it. And I guess that's where we go from here, Mark. Donald Trump, it will there come a point where maybe he makes a mistake, an honest mistake, and says, yeah, I messed up, I apologize?
Well, look, this guy is so underestimated. I mean, if you look at the new Fox poll, 68% of Republicans who are in that poll support an outsider.
I'm just saying,
Donald
if you make a tweet that's incendiary, claiming that all 80% of white people who are murdered by blacks in this country, don't you think that's offensive to some group of people in this country and should be addressed, or maybe they don't count?
Well, I think, like you said, Charles, you know, sometimes you retweet things that you needed to source better, okay? So, you know, sure, perhaps he needs to acknowledge, hey, we shouldn't have sent that tweet out. But does that make him a racist? And where does this come from? It comes from the media complex that wants to destroy Republicans. Every time they call a Republican a sexist or a racist, the Republican backs down. He cowers. This is a guy who will not cower. He's going to push back every time because he's a fighter. And those Republican voters want to see a fighter.
I got you, but you know what? If you tweet out something that's incendiary, even on the verge of being hateful, you might want to apologize, Christian. I'm just saying, I know the mainstream media doesn't want the Republicans to win, but does it make sense for the Republicans to make the mainstream media's job even easier?
That's right. Donald Trump may not cower, but he's going to give the mainstream media and the Democratic Party all of the ammunition they need to keep the White House. When you go and say ludicrous things, first of all, this is the reason, having been on a few campaigns, why people have staff so you can check things out and so you can demonstrate that you're qualified to be president, because you certainly wouldn't want a president to shoot from the hip. But look at this issue, saying just incorrectly that 80% of white murder victims are killed by blacks when the number is 14%, which is closely in line with their percentage of the public. I mean, this is taking away from a serious issue, the issue of violence, or black-on-black violence for that matter. Look what just happened in New Orleans. So are we going to talk about how you can curb that violence and the breakdown of the black family and how public schools are failing? No, we're just going to give talking points to the liberals.
I tell you what, the black-on-black slaughter is such a major, major issue. I wish that the Republicans in general would focus on it, but I wish Obama would focus on it as well. Thank you guys very, very much.